Hi, Sean Healy, personal change agent here, and you're watching the Relationship Resourcing Series, a series designed to help people have better experiences in relationship. So welcome to today's episode, which is entitled Looking at Secure Attachment. I thought this would be a really powerful kind of episode to do because the more we can understand what constitutes secure relating, this helps those of us who have perhaps not had too much experience in being in relationships where secure attachment is at the foundation. So for those of us who've had those experiences, we can begin to find out what the touch points are that we can navigate towards to have healthier, more intimate, allowing relationships. I don't know if that's a kind of word, but we'll go with it for the moment. A kind of a space where we're allowed to have more intimacy in our relationships and our connections. And for those of us who are fortunate enough to be in relationships that do have secure attachment, all relationships come under stress and pressure from time to time. And when we are in that process of relating to our intimate partner, what we can sometimes find is that we will go through patches where we're not connecting as well, we're not getting along as well, we're not seeing each other as often. And so even for couples that have a secure attachment as a foundation in their relationship, it's good to know what the touch points are, what the compass points are that let us navigate through our relationship experiences. And once we know some of the cornerstones to having secure attachment, it makes it easier to get back to that. Or with our partner, we've got certain things that we can discuss to say, do we think that these particular touch points, are we delivering on these? Do we have enough emotional connection in the relationship? Are we spending enough time together? And any other element that we kind of cover off today in the exploration of secure attachment. So we might as well get into what are some of these pillars, what are some of these foundational elements that we find in secure attachment. One of the things that's very important in relationships that have a foundation of secure attachment is that we find, for the most part, we've got fairly good communication traveling between both sides of both members of the relationship. We're able to voice what we want, what our emotional needs are, and we find that we are responded to in a way that doesn't make us feel belittled or negated. These are certainly important things. When we're able to have a clear communication dynamic between one another, we're not left with mind reading, we're not trying to figure out what our partner may or may not want, but rather we're comfortable to ask, and we're also not falling into assumptions that our partner should know what it is that we want, because mind reading and assumptions often lead more times than not to disappointment or resentment, because somehow our partner hasn't been able to psychically attune to us and provide us with the things that we feel they should know about. Again, we're not doing ourselves much service if we're kind of falling back on, I'm not going to tell my partner they should know. Sometimes we have to be an educator in our relationships. We have to be okay to let our partner know what we want, and then we have to be prepared sometimes to repeat that request. It's like taking the mantle of the patient teacher. We'll take our time, and if we need to kind of go over this a few times, that's okay. We're not flying into a rage because our partner, I told you this once, you should know it by now, is not necessarily going to be the most healthy approach for the overall health of the relationship. So clear communication is important. We're not waiting or assuming that our partner will know. And that has nothing to do with how good our partner is or isn't. The fact that their psychic capacities, their mind reading abilities are a little low has nothing to do with their capacity to be a good partner. Once we're told, do we listen and do we do our best to respond? And yes, we've got the space to remember that from time to time we can forget. It does happen. And if another element of this, apart from clear communication, but certainly overlaps, is the idea that there exists in the relationship a certain level of emotional attunement, that I have a level of awareness about my partner's emotional state or states. They have a level of awareness about mine. I'm not dismissive of my partner's emotional experience. I'm not belittling of it. I'm not deciding whether or not they're overreacting based off my measurements of how I would respond to a certain situation. We're all different. But there's this level of exchange at the emotional level that lets us know that we're being emotionally acknowledged. There's a level of skillfulness with managing emotions. We're not having to hide how we're feeling. That doesn't mean that we don't become boundaryless and spray out all over the place. We have a level of adult responsibility, and there's a degree of responsibility for managing our own emotions. But at the same time, if we need a bit of support, then we're able to reach forward for it and find that we can receive it. We're not relying necessarily on our partner to solve our emotional dilemma, but we do know they have our back. They're acknowledging our experience and they're able to hold space for us. This is so important in creating these secure attachments and making sure that we are comfortable. We are comfortable to be close. We're comfortable to be seen and acknowledged by our partner. That is so important. And again, that's another element of secure attachment, is the relationship that the couple have with intimacy. We can have these moments where we're very close to one another and we're comfortable to do that. We can go to a kind of, and from time to time when we need to separate and be as individuals in the world, we're okay with that. That doesn't trigger us into abandonment. And so there's this fluidness and this comfortableness with when we're close, we're close. When we're a little bit further apart and a bit more individual for whatever reason, we're okay with that too. Rather than when we find in anxious or avoidant dynamics, the anxious person gets triggered by the distancing part of the relationship, and the avoidant gets triggered by the closeness part of the relationship. And so there's this constant distancing, this constant game playing that always seems to leave this space in the middle where you and I can never quite reach each other if we're doing the avoidant, anxious kind of dance. Whereas securely attached foundational, people with securely attached relating at the base, at the foundation of the relationship, this is no big deal. This is quite okay to do. There's not the emotional ups and downs. There still are, of course, but we're not getting punished for trying to get close, and we're not being punished for trying to get a bit of distance either. So that again is a central kind of element to secure relating. We also I guess what you would say is that we're on the same page to a degree with how often we want to connect. Everybody's different. Everybody's sense of intimacy, their love language, these things vary. But we want to be able to find a partner who is in the same ballpark, so to speak, as us with how often we want to connect with each other. If we're the kind of person that wants to really touch base with our partner 4 or 5 times a day, and we've paired up with somebody who really is not too fazed by that. Every 3 to 4 days, let's touch base and spend a bit of time together. But in between, I'm okay. If we're people with 2 different connection needs like that, this can be very challenging. And it might require a very significant compromise on the part of both parties there to find something that works. But if we're with someone who, again, has a fairly similar connection kind of requirement as us, this is going to make things go a lot more smoothly too. We're not going to be battling for looking for ways to kind of draw our partner in, and our partner's looking for ways to break free or get distance, or the other way around, if we're both fairly much on the same page with how often we want to connect. There's also a degree in secure relating where there's a shared responsibility, there's a shared drive towards, or we're sharing the initiator role for moments of connection and contact. It's not like we're in relationships where one person is always the one that's pushing the idea of the couple spending time together, always pushing the idea of, I've just organised for us to do this, and next week I'm going to organise for us to do that. There's a shared responsibility. We're sharing the load in the initiation process. We're both making sure that we're taking time to be the initiator and the one who reaches towards the other, because it becomes very difficult when we've always got one person reaching towards the other, and the other person either in a place where they just expect that, or when the person reaches, they pull back, because this can lead to some very painful dynamics. But when we're sharing that, then what we're affirmed in is the fact that our partner wants to spend time with us, that our partner does really enjoy our company, because it's very, very painful when we're with people who are constantly putting up roadblocks. I'm sorry, I'd love to do things with you, but I'm too busy. You can see all the jobs I've got to get through before we spend time together. These people need me right now, or, I know you want to spend some time with me, but hey, my social media commitments are backing up. Whatever it is, whatever kind of excuse we can use for keeping intimacy at bay, if we're repeatedly confronted with those, that can be very, very painful. So we're looking to be, as I say, there's a sharedness in the experience of that reaching towards one another. We're not relying on one person, but it's a joint effort. And there are other elements to secure attaching, but probably the one that I want to kind of finish this episode off with is the way in which we manage our emotional distress. Alan Robarge, the relationship coach, I came across this concept from him called, I think it's called distress tolerance. His work's wonderful, by the way. I would certainly recommend that you check it out. Very insightful, as far as a great resource for looking at relationship dynamics and how to make them better, how to heal yourself from attachment wounds. But enough about my infomercial for Alan Robarge, and back to what we're talking about. So when we're looking at, the other thing is our ability to stay, and again it loops all the way back to the beginning when we're talking about effective communication, that I'm able to know what my triggers are, I'm able to manage my distress, and I don't make that about you, my partner. I don't lead at you with rage, I don't lead at you with frustration. If I'm not in a good space, I can buffer that by prefacing it. Look, I just want to acknowledge, first off, that I'm really kind of worked up at the moment, because we can really do our relationship harm when we're communicating from distress. So it's so important to make sure that we have that level of self-awareness that lets us know, okay, am I responding from wounds right now? Am I speaking from wounds? Or am I allowing that to settle and coming from a place where I'm recognizing how important the relationship is to me, how important you as my partner are, and I've got a place of respect, and I'm speaking from that. I'm, rather than spraying out through rage and out of woundedness, and somehow I feel that entitles me to speak to you however I want. It justifies how I'm going to speak to you because I'm so upset with what you did. If we're repeatedly attacking our partner because we can't manage our distress, we don't have good distress tolerance, then that too is going to place an extreme load on the relationship and can force people to try to distance or rage back. That's not going to be a place where we can have we can foster and continue to keep strong that secure level of attachment. We'll be talking some more about some of these things and plenty of others in the rest of the series. If you want to check any of my work out, so I'm a personal change agent. I support people in their personal lives, making the kinds of changes that they want to make their lives better, helping them to achieve their goals, helping them to create stronger relationships. And I also work in business culture, looking to create business environments where we can have both a space of connection, respect, and effective communicational dynamics, but we can also be productive and profitable. So if you're interested in finding out a bit more about what I have to offer, both my courses or my one-to-one programs, emergencetraining.com.au is the website. Come check us out. Say hello if you wish. If you've got any ideas or anything you'd like to see one of these episodes done on, I'm more than happy to take that into consideration. So I hope that you've found this particular episode helpful, and I look forward to the next time we're together. Until then, bye.